Well, Stoner Box here, just dropping by to demo my project, I guess. I've been working on it for feels like ages now. This is like it's the longest project I ever worked on, ever. I've never done a tube emulation before, so this was my first time with JFETs. And yeah, I just wanted to start, but at the start I just wanted to do a straight up clone of the matte amps, but you know, I didn't my expectations were pretty low, because you know, JFETs will never be ever be tube amp, never. So but I think there's still some character that reminds of the green amps, the matte amps. So yeah, I'm just gonna show you here. I'm just gonna go show you a little bit. Here's the a dirty old proto board. I actually finished the circuit, but then I wasn't too keen on the power amp section. You know, didn't sound like a power amp, and it will probably never sound like a power amp. But anyways, I just ripped it out and moved it to the breadboard, so I could just experiment. And it started off as a clone, but now I feel like I'm trying to, of course, add something new. But yeah, and I've added something. I don't think it's new, but it's something. And it's the filter, the grain. I call it the grain knob. So yeah, I'll just start here with the preamp section at a very low gain. I just want to show the semi-clean stuff at first. So the input switch here is set at the lowest possible value, which is my favorite because it keeps the circuit really like transparent. You can still hear what kind of guitar you got there. So the smallest value is 50 picrofarads, and the biggest value is 1 farad. And the middle one is like 470 picrofarads, I think. But yeah, the 50 farad is my absolute favorite. It keeps the circuit more transparent than the others. So I'll use the smallest input capacitor. I got the bass at roughly 50 at noon, roughly. And the treble is super powerful on the tone stack. So I'm just gonna keep it at like 10%, I guess. Yeah, so it's like early on the sweep. So yeah, here goes. Just take a little sip of coffee. Here we go. Here's some semi-clean tones for you. Yeah, so it can do cleaner stuff, but the amount of gain in this circuit is like, it's too much, especially when you turn the input cap to the bigger values. You got like too much gain. But if I would redo this for myself or for anybody else, I would probably buy a bigger input rotary switch, and just a two channel thing, where I could set the one side to the input capacitor, and another side I would switch between resistors in a voltage divider, so you could like keep the signal, like if you would turn the 1 farad on, you would like have a more what do you call it? Like the voltage divider would keep the signal at bay, so it wouldn't be like super distorting. Because now you gotta have now you gotta turn the distortion volume 1 knob all the time if you ever change the input capacitor. So let's do some more some heavier stuff. If you want to play some Doom, here you go. I'm just gonna keep everything is as is. I'm just gonna turn up the gain on the preamp to show you the amount. So here's about half. It really responds really nice to if you play softly or hard, you know. Okay, full distortion. Now the fun begins. Let's swap the input capacitor. We're gonna go halfway, I think. Here we go. And then go to the biggest cap, 1 farad. There you go. Let's try the tone stack for a bit. I'm gonna switch back to the 50 microparads because, as I told before, said earlier, it's my favorite to keep the sound transparent, more transparent. Okay, I'm gonna boost some treble here. Halfway. Full. Back to half. And back to 0. It affects the character a lot. It also affects the saturation of Q3. So you can really shape a lot of tones here. And later on you can shape on, if you turn on the power amp, you can shape even more. So you can get a lot of different tones out of this circuit. High gain tones, that is. Okay, more bass, full bass. Okay, let's switch the input cap. Middle. Okay, I'm gonna turn, just to show you the bass, I'm gonna turn the bass back. It's pretty subtle, but you can still hear it, right? I'm gonna turn it up. Yeah, that's not subtle. Okay. Yeah, so let's back it off a bit. Here we go. I'm gonna turn the bass to roughly mid and just a tiny bit of treble. We're gonna jump to the power amp section, and I'm gonna take a sip of coffee. There we go. I've been trying to keep this grain knob pretty like subtle change, so I didn't want any wild and super crazy changes, just this like a fine-tuned grain filter. I don't know, grain saturator. So yeah. It works really well when you back off volume 2 and volume 1. You get the most prominent changes in the grain. No. Yeah, so there you have it. It got massive amounts of gain. I like to keep it at the lower settings, like a small input cap with a little gain here and a little gain there. Keep the volume 1 and volume 2 pretty low, and yeah, it's been a ride. It's been a long ride. I mean, I learned a lot of things here. I'm no expert whatsoever on building circuits and designing your own stuff, and this has been my really my first. I built stuff before, but I never ever tried hard enough. This time I really tried to make it as good as I can with my limited knowledge and everything. So, but I'm pretty pleased. It's not a tube amp, of course, but I mean, it works for me still though. I like the raw, big sound. So it's pretty badass. Thanks so much for dropping in. Maybe I'll see you in another video in the future. I don't know, man. Just keep it cool out there. Okay, folks. See ya.